Hey everyone, this is GeoWill from Productions², and tonight we're back to do a little bit more extra recording for the Space Crusade developer's log. The reason we're doing this extra recording is due to a problem I had with the recordings from before. And mainly that is that when I was moving footage from my 2 drives to my R drive, my 2 terabyte drive, to store it there for recording or rendering later on, so I could record other footage. In the meantime, the file transfer kept on getting frozen and thereby extension freezing everything else on my computer and had a hard reset. That happened 4 or 5 times before I figured out. Well, I probably knew what was causing the problem, but I didn't think it would be as much of a problem as it was, just put it that way. But in the process, I invalidated, or I mean not invalidated, but corrupted some of those parts of those files that the transfer froze on. So some of the footage has only partial part of the video to go with the audio. For those ones, I'll just be cutting off the extraneous bits that don't work, so I'll be recording them through VLC player, and I'll just put some sort of graphic for the video that is not there, and but the audio is still there because that was recorded separately, since we're recording with PlayClaw. So I wanted to do a little extra recording to kind of make up for that. So that's what brings us to here. I was actually thought I was recording earlier for about, I think, maybe 45 minutes to an hour, but then I realized that PlayClaw wasn't actually hooking into the desktop again, so right now I'm recording with Fraps and doing the audio with Audacity, so that seems to be working for the moment, although Fraps isn't displaying the FPS counter on my desktop like it normally would. I've had a lot of problems with that with PlayClaw, with it not wanting to work sometimes. For random reasons, or at least reasons that I do not know, can't figure out yet. So, what's going on now is that I'm actually going to be delaying the release of Build 4 until probably most likely Sunday, but possibly Monday. And that's because of code blow-up that happened today. I was adding in a bunch of code for storage of ships to stations and other ships, and evidently by adding the ship class to S-inventory and station and whatever hell else that data system, I ended up causing a huge clusterfull of circular dependencies, and that just totally blew the code up. The way that I dealt with it before, when this sort of thing happened back in 0.2a with the alien class on one of the earlier versions of SC, was just to recode pretty much the entire alien class, and then also, by extension, a good portion of the game. But this time, that's not really an option because while the code is more complicated, but compared to O2, I think this is probably way larger as well as more complicated. So what I decided elected to do was just to strip out what I didn't need from the ship class and throw it into a new class called Ship 2. Yeah, the naming is pretty original. But Ship 2 is essentially just a glorified struct class that contains the functions and member variables to hold just the basic ship information. No used hardpoints, no weapon vectors, no spreads, just the base stats for the ship and information. Oh, cool. So that's what I've been working on so far today, is just trying to fix all that messed up code, and then also trying to not only fix from that code blow up, but also finish some of these other things that weren't yet done that I'd forgotten about after seeing my code go up in flames earlier in the day. So that's what I'm working on right at this moment. This code here, essentially what it does is, that's for storing ships. And so there's two different sections of it. The first section has to do with if you are storing a ship that you've bought. So let's say you buy a ship, and or rather just storing a ship into your station storage. So, like, for instance, you buy a ship and then you want to store it instead of use it, or you have a ship on your ship and you want to store it because it's taking up too much damn cargo space. So that's what this first block of code is for. The second block of code is way more complicated. This code is going to allow you to take a ship that's in your well, let me see, where's the thing at here? There's supposed to be a variable somewhere. That might be another class I'm thinking of. This one, I think, is just to store a ship from your ship. Or, rather, no, that's right, yeah. This one is about taking a bought ship, a ship that you bought, just recently bought, and exchanging that ship for your current ship. In other words, taking all the information from your current ship that can be transferred, like weapons and whatnot, transferring it over to the new ship, and then taking your old ship and storing it. What's involved with this is checking to make sure that your new ship can install all the weapons and has the proper. I'll have to add that in. I haven't added that in yet. Make sure that the ship has meets the proper requirements, class requirements for the weapons, and either. If the ship doesn't meet those requirements, or if there is not enough room to install all the weapons that you have, or there's no room to install the weapons that you have because the ship that you bought doesn't have installation points for that weapon type, then those items will get stored into your station storage. Or if you don't have enough space, then you're asked to buy space, and if you don't, then the ship that you just bought gets refunded. It's like I said, it's crazy complicated. And there's probably a much easier way to do it. You know? The easier way to do it is probably the correct way to do it. Just to say that if you're going to exchange your ship, that you strip everything out of your current ship and you don't try to install a new one. You can just do that yourself. I think that's what we'll do. Doing it this way is just going to be a huge hassle, and we're going to run into problems because we'll have to check for the because as time goes on, there's going to be more requirements added to installing things onto your ship. Like, for instance, if the ship computer can withstand or sustain, or has enough processing power to deal with the addition of a module, we'll call it, of a weapon or a module or some other kind of item or upgrade. And doing this is not, because then we'll have to have like 10 different conditional statements checking all this stuff. So I think it'll just be much quicker, faster to say, okay, if you have something installed, then you're going to have to reinstall it because we're going to take it off. And that allows me to get rid of all this damn code. Actually, we don't want to get rid of all of it. We want to get rid of some of it. Most of it. Instead of checking to see if this is true, we're just going to go through and say, if you have a weapon installed, then we're going to add the SG2 for that weapon to temp space. And so each one of those huge blocks becomes just 5 or 6 lines now. It just amazes me sometimes the amount of code it takes to do certain things. Like, for example, oops, we got rid of the damn for loop, didn't we? Nope, you don't want to do that. As I was saying, it's just amazing what it takes to do some of these things. For example, you know, it seems really like a simple thing, taking an item from one area and adding it to another. In other words, like taking an item that's stored on your ship and putting it in a station. But it's just a huge undertaking. I've actually added, I'm probably guessing around 8,000 to 12,000 lines of code just for taking things from a ship or a station and moving them to the other one of the two. It's just amazing how much some of the stuff takes. I think it's real easy to overlook that fact. If you're not directly involved or if you haven't seen the process happening in real time as you are now. Which is part of the reason why I'm making this vlog series, just to kind of educate on exactly what it takes to make a game, because every time I see somebody out there saying, oh, this game isn't worth, you know, $20 or whatever, most likely people that have never seen or been involved in creating a game. Alright, so we got all this stuff done. Now what we're going to do is also, we have to look at it and say, okay, since we're taking everything out now, we have to also check the cargo hold. Now the tricky thing is here is that actually no, because we're not. This is a different function. I think I'm thinking of something over in maybe game or some other class somewhere. But so what we do is just go through the cargo hold and also divvy up everything. So let's see, cargo. If temp ship C, which is your current ship, dot s cargo dot size is greater than 0. If there's items stored in your cargo hold, for I2 equals 0, less than temp ship C oh well, we're actually taking these last two. Wow, what the hell? What was I thinking? Temp space plus equals temp cargo hold. It should be I2, not I. That's another problem. Wow. How the hell did I miss that? Alright, I dot HP weapon dot get SG2. SH2? No, SG2. And do the same thing here. Alright, so temp space plus equals temp ship underscore C dot S cargo dot at I. Now we actually have to do a if conditional brancher. We have to first do this, so we have to check if it's a ship or not. If it's a ship, then the SG2 is not going to be stored like it normally is. It'll be stored in the ship class. That's in their ship 2 class. So .I dot B is ship. So in other words, if this element is a ship, and for some reason we have a problem here. I guess just IntelliSense being a son of a bitch. IntelliSense, ever since 2008, that is the MSVS 2008, IntelliSense has been just completely broken and really a POS, piece of Dren. In 2010, IntelliSense was completely broken. Didn't even work at all. In 2012 now, it does work sometimes, but other times you get crap like this and I have no clue why. This makes no sense. Because not having this bracket there should not mean that, or there should not mean this isn't, done correctly. It doesn't show up properly. Of course it still is saying, oh, there's something wrong. So temp ship C dot S cargo dot I to B is ship. Alright, there we go. That was the problem. But there are times when IntelliSense just totally craps out. Like, for instance, I think you've probably seen it a couple times on the recordings where caps suddenly are underlined red and are claimed to be ambiguous. That's because of a IntelliSense bug that Microsoft has known about for quite a while and has elected not to fix. But now for here, what we need to do now is we need to see temp space spelled correctly, plus equals temp ship dot underscore C dot S cargo dot at I dot SS or S ship dot get SG2. And let's see what the SG2 for a ship. For temp space down here, though, we just do the normal get SG2. Or is it I size? Close, I space. Alright, so that will take everything that's possibly installed, that can be installed at the moment, since we don't have the ability to install modules or anything else yet. Get the SG2, add it to temp space, also scan the cargo, do the same thing, and then we'll load it down to here. Now, since even though this is almost always going to be true, we're going to put this here anyway, just in case we do have a ship where there's nothing installed and the player wants to trade it in for another ship. So now we have check to see if temp space is greater than 0, and if it is, we need to check the temp space against this. Now, I can guarantee you probably almost instantly this is going to always come up as a fail, unless the player has played a while and has a lot of space. Otherwise, chances are that everything here is going to cause some problems, maybe, for the player, in terms of whether or not it's stuff's easily stored or not. So what happens is we go through this whole process here. So we check this. If it comes back false, in other words, if the temp space plus current used space is greater than max usable space, then we go down to here, which is a call to station class. I moved this into station from game to have the player buy more space for the inventory. Now, if the player does buy space and we have enough space, because then we're going to recheck. I think what we'll do here is we'll add a while loop here, just in case, so we can loop through and check things. What kind of bools do we have? We do have be done. Okay, good. So we'll take be done. Well, wait, let me see. That might be in use by something else up here. Be done. Let me see. Be done. By space. Okay, so well, no, technically, because it would be fine to use it there. Then that will go into this, and well, actually, no, yeah, so it'd make it, we need to add this to the bottom then too, so we can make sure it's still false when it goes back. So, and then where we have a return, well, technically, it would be false either way because we're returning a value within the loop. So, okay, so this was left over from before. We don't actually need this here because we're no longer dealing with slots. So it's going to be a simple return kind of thing. Either you have bot space or you haven't. Which means we can easily use be done up here. And yes, I'm going to wrap the else in there as well. We'll just end up breaking out of it though in that case. So now, actually let's put it up here instead. So I'm going to include the check in this. Alright, so, check the space, have the player get space. If the player has space, then, so that's actually a float and not a bool. Oh, okay, no, we changed it to a bool. That's right, instead of a float. But we need to create a bool p-choice variable. Someone has a float. So what we'll do is we'll just have one only for the negative here. What we'll do with the positive is that that'll be tied into the this whole thing here. So actually, that else should come in here because that's part of the else for this. That's the else for this if. I'm not sure if I said while or if on that one before. I must have said if. It's the while. My bad on that. So, while be done. It's false. And then we check this. If the player chooses space, then we go through the loop again and we recheck. Now, if there's still not enough space, even after we add more space, then we go back down in here again and we have the player add more. Or if the player chooses not to add more or can't because it doesn't have the resources to do so, that's going to be a negative here, and we're just going to call the reset refund. Or rather, this is a bool now, I believe, right? Yeah, so we'll just return a false, and that'll trigger the resale or refund function over in game. But now, if the player does have space now for everything, then we go ahead and move everything up. Now this is where it gets really tricky. I was thinking about this earlier, and I have to check now to see what happens, because I think what would make it easy is if we had the IDs for everything already contained within their classes. Table IDs. So that means it'll be extremely easy just to go in and add things in. However, if they aren't, then what we would have to do if I didn't add them in would have to be to query the database in such a way as to check with the name instead of the ID, table ID, which is impossible because we don't have anything to do that with, and that would require more things. So the only course of action, if it doesn't exist, is to create some code to add the ID from the table when we pull the data, to take that ID and place it into the object itself. So let's check and see what has it and what doesn't, or what might not. We'll go ahead and start with weapons, since that's the first thing that we had to deal with. And I believe that weapons do have the ID in them. Yeah, weapon ID. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. Now the next thing would be items and whatnot. So I guess we go to defenses next. That is not open, neither is shield, so we'll open those up. Actually, it's in defenses. Anyway, they're both together on that one. So defense ID, yes, and MID, yes, good. What about ships? This is where I'm a little more skeptical about if it's there or not. I know we have an SID, but that's not for this, for what I'm thinking of. Yeah, we've got SSID. Let me see, let's just look for SID. Add SID. So we do have an SID, but it's not for... Yes, that's the only one we have for that. So what we need to do is we need to add a variable. We'll probably have to add it to the stored the save file stuff as well. Int SID. Alright, so let's head over to here. Player ship data. Alright, so I should be able to rename this fairly simply without having to do much work. I want to change this to SSID. Then I'm going to add another SID in, integer obviously. Okay. Move that up above, cancel, above SSID. Alright, now we need to go change a few things. First of all, we need to go to database. And we need to go to let's see. We need get ship data. Alright, so we get the SID here, but do we actually add it? Let me see. No, well, it's not station data. No wonder. Not ship data. Well, that explains it. I got too many bloody classes or functions in here. should be the second one. Yeah, here we go. So, no, we don't get it. Alright, so now we have to actually add it. Let's jump over to the placeholder real quick. Alright, add it there too. So we have it there. We'll have to add all this to the saving and the loading functions, as well as placing the relevant variables and functions to set and get that variable in the two ship classes. Well, no, well, just in ship, the first ship, because what's going to happen is that we're going to use some of the SN element variables themselves instead of using only ship. Like for instance, using the IID member for SN for the ship ID, and we can just use that from the set that from the ship class as we are inserting that ship into the storage or cargo hold. So let's go back to database now. sResults dot at 0 dot SID equals SQLite3 column int statement and break. Okay, we added that. Need to add it to the okay. Now I need to add it to the loading as well, while it's in a different position there. So get PS data, this seems a bit, or PS results. Alright, so we added it above SSID, so put it right here. We'll just copy that. Should have copied the break too. And just change it to SID 2678. And then we'll add it down here, same area. PL ship.net I dot SID equals PL ship results dot at I dot SID. Now I need to go to the saving class. I need to find player ship data. I need to add, change this. Oh, actually, we just do this. Leave that there, and just add SSID here. We need to add another question mark. Then we need to add another bind for SSID or SID. SQL I15. '16, 17, 25, 6, 7, 16, 17, oops, SQLite 3, damn, E key right. Bind int Alright, and that adds that to the saving for the ship data now. Now we need to go to data system. And to load data, load player data, load player ship data. And here's where we need to go add the stuff here. Like we added SID, now we need to add the functions real quick. Alright, so I already have an SID. I'm not going to change that because that's used in a lot of places. So we're just going to say int get ID and then void set ID int I. Now we'll go put in the code for that. Let's see, int ship get ID and then set ID int I. Alright, and back over to database. Or rather, data system. mPlayer.ship.setID plShip.at0 .SID. And then to save data, let's see. So let's make sure we're saving the IDs. So plShip.at plShip.size is 1. Alright, that should do it. Now, we want to go ahead and go back over to wherever the hell we were, I think station. Alright, so now we get to store stuff. We'll go ahead and start with weapons. Essentially all we have to do is we have to store the weapon ID, the amount, and the size. I believe those are the three options, or three parameters. So we go to We also have to check though to make sure that they're not, or that something of this type is not already in there for anything but ships, or everything but ships. Yeah, because there can be ships in this instance, so we want to make sure we take those out as well. Alright, so first though for weapons. So if we need to do the if again. We'll just copy this down again, and we'll just delete out the extraneous parts from inside of the if statements and replace with what we need. Let's be faster than typing everything out again. Alright, so this is what happens if the player has the space to store the items. Just to recap there. Alright, so again we check to make sure that we actually have these in here now. We go, well, let's put that back. So now we go s inventory dot or wait. Well, we do that, but then we do an internal for loop. I3 equals 0. I3 is less than or equal to s inventory dot size, and I3 plus plus. What? I3 isn't part of this? Well, why the hell not? It should be. We'll add an I4 for good measure. Alright, so now we want to go in and say if we want to do a double, well, yeah, just a second. If I3 equals s inventory this helps to spell things correctly, dot size, else. Alright, so else if temp ship C L banks dot at I2 dot HP weapon dot get WID equals s inventory dot at I3. Let's see if you can figure out where I'm going with this. Now, do I need to actually check, do I need to actually get the weapon type, or can I just say, because all the weapons are and will be all different IDs, so if we say weapon, and then just have the ID, there'll never be a laser that has the weapon ID of like a bomb or something. So I don't think we have to go and actually get that, and it wouldn't return anything anyway. It would return a int instead of a string. So We'll just do a weapon. I type. So if the ID in the current slot of the inventory is the same as the weapon ID and the item type is the same as a weapon in this case, then we want to update that item amount. So we go now I guess that's done it through the inventory. So sinventory dot at i3 dot I, which would be 1 in this case, and then add. Now if we go through and we reach this if, then this item does not exist in the inventory yet, and we want to add it to the inventory. So we then say sinventory dot pushback sinv. So the item ID, which would be the weapon ID, the amount, the item type, the item size, and if it's a ship or not. So the ID, the amount, which is 1, the type, which is a weapon, the size, and then false because it's not a ship. Should really be just weapon. And that's really all you have to do. What it'll do is it'll cycle through all the weapons in L-Banks now, and go through the inventory for each one and see if it exists or not, and if it does, we'll just add one to the existing stack, and if it doesn't, then we'll add it to the inventory itself. And the size shouldn't matter, because at this point in time the player has bought enough space to store everything that is going to be stored. So what we can do now is we can just take this code and copy paste it to the other weapon slots and or weapon sections here, and just change what we need to change. The cargo is going to be a slightly more complicated issue because we have multiple item types. You got P shields, you've got P defenses. You can have weapons again, and you can also have ships as well. So, and as well as ore and resources too. So it's really a whole. Essentially, we have to redo all this again down here, except not going through L-Banks, but going through the cargo, and account for all the other stuff as well. So what we want to do now is go to missiles. Essentially, all we really have to do is, in certain places, replace L-Banks with M turrets. as needed, and I actually think that that is all we have to do for that. Pretty simple. Of course, I'll say that now, and we'll come back through and I'll be testing it and it'll just explode or something. Nothing is ever simple. At least not with this game. Thought it'd be a simple affair adding that stuff in to add ships to storage, and oh no. The code had to just go and self-destruct. Alright, so what we need to do now is, damn. We only need one of these for the weapons, because we're just going to go by weapon. We're not going to have to go by... well, we might even have to do that, because everything will be in the form of an S inventory slot. So we'll just be able to take the information and just copy it over, so we won't even need that. The only place that we have to worry about is ships. Now, I'd like to refrain from doing another huge block of this, but I think I mentioned before, but it was during the section, the recording session that I'm pretty sure didn't get recorded. And just to make sure, I want to make sure that we're actually recording here. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, definitely recording. When I was going through on the battle processing, we're having all those issues with things not updating correctly during ship battles, because there were references that were not being passed correctly or named correctly or used correctly. And while testing all that stuff out and dealing with the damage class in with planet bombing and all that earlier, I discovered that there were certain circumstances where you could take a reference and void it by clearing out the reference that you had set to another object. And I figured that was because you're essentially copying the object, the same data, into a different space, but still connected or something. So I'm really skittish about taking an object and setting it to another one. For instance, taking a temp ship and using it as an equals, another ship 2 object or something like that. But we're going to go ahead and try it with this and see what happens, because I don't want to have to do all this again. But we'll get to that in a second. So, really, all we have to do now is we just have to check what the alright, so let's go to that. So now all we have to do is go F S temp ship C dot S cargo dot at I2 dot get I type equals, we'll start with ship. Although actually we have is ship. We have that for that. Else if now we do the item type stuff. Dot get I type equals weapon. Else if P defense else if P shield Not that it really matters in the scheme of things, but yeah, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because all this stuff just uses. What the hell am I doing? Overcomplicating things that don't need to be as complicated. The only thing we have to account for is ship. So that's the only thing that's different. Otherwise, just do an else, because it's either a ship or it's not a ship. And if it's not a ship, all we have to do is just go inventory dot push back sinv. And we just have to do what we did up there, except we just take the temp ship c dot s cargo dot at I2 dot get IID. Get I amount. Get I type. Now, the question here is the I think it's for one item, not for multiple. Where's the what doesn't it like? Why does it say be a ship as a character? Then you got this random crap like this. I have to figure out. Ah, I see. Well, really, if you think about this, we don't even need that, because we essentially have just set up the entire S-ship class here. And all the information we'll ever need. So we don't need that. Alright, so that fixes that. Back over here now. Taken up by one item, singular only function. Okay. That's what I was thinking. So okay, this should be times. Oh wait, no. Get I space. So this should be times I amount. So float times alright, so we just do that right inside of there. Get iSpace. You know, maybe we shouldn't do that, because there's other places where we're using that to get just the size of that. So what I think we'll do is we'll undo this, and we'll just put it in as it is, and then we can deal with it later. Figure out how to deal with it later. As far as getting the total stuff out of there, so get I space and then false. Now for ship, it's a little different. So we have to see, now what we have to do with this is we have to take team ship or temp ship, or well, first of all we got to go s inventory dot at I2 dot or rather pushback. Alright, so here's what we need to do is take this now and use temp ship C. Because that's a ship. We need a ship 2. Damn, we're gonna have to use the long version, aren't we? That sucks. So hoping to be able to avoid it, but if it's not avoidable, then screw it. What we'll just do is we'll just take it from up here. Alright, okay. Then s inventory dot push or dot at size. So s inventory dot size minus 1 dot s ship dot init ship 2. So you have to go through, and there's probably a much quicker way to do it, but I don't feel like using the replace menu at the moment, so I'm just going to do it by hand. It's faster, I believe. Maybe not entirely, but crap. Damn it. All sorts of crap happening here. Okay. That really screwed me over. Alright, so there we go. Back on track. Alright. So that'll add the player ship to S inventory. The new inventory element, and into the S ship member. And I'll do that for any ship that it finds. And then what we need to do, though, is also remove that ship from the player inventory. So whenever we add something, we have to then go into M ship. Dot at M player dot ship dot S cargo dot at I2, or rather S cargo dot erase. Then M player dot ship plus I2. And that will erase the element that we just added to the inventory from the cargo. And when we do this, we want to reset I2 to 0. Because if we don't, then we're going to end up running out of elements. We'll end up going out of bounds because I2 will then be larger than cargo, S cargo size. Because we'll be removing elements actively as they're switched over. So we need to do that with this too. Both of these. Of course, this is a little easier. We just copy this down here. And this will work for anything else that we have. Just any other type of item, because it all conforms to this same format here, whereas ships go with the S ship object that's inside of the S inventory class. Or S in class. So I think that's everything for this. Again, we still have to test it, but I believe that will do it. And with that, that's going to end the recording for this developer's log. Hope you enjoyed it, or at least found it somewhat entertaining or educational. Sorry again for the lost footage, or rather incomplete footage. That was a little bit outside of my control. I tried to repair the files, but everything I tried just would not work. The files only loaded partially in VDub. The index rebuilder would only go so far and then stop, even though there was more to the file than what it was showing. What I'm going to have to do is replay them through VLC player and re-record them as they're going through that. I also tried using DivFix++ and another AVI fixing program, and nothing really worked. I also, though, did lose some footage. I shouldn't say I didn't lose any, but I did lose some from the Matroska file issue. I think that might have been exclusively for CI, though, but there might have been some SC in there. I know there's some Minecraft that I also lost. This PlayClaw was recording things in Matroska instead of in AVI, and for some reason PlayClaw's Matroska codec is totally crap. After it gets past a certain size, the file structure just totally degrades and gets corrupted. Even when recording normally and ending normally, it just corrupts itself. So some of the footage was lost after we recorded stuff for Combine Insurrection. But there may have been a little bit of footage lost for SC, so I'm just going to mention that now. Whenever we get, or rather when, of course, well, when, by the time we release, by the time this video is uploaded, we'll have already released 0.4, but at that time, we'd appreciate it if you would help us bug test SO4, or version 0.5 build for, because we need to make sure we get as many bugs as possible dealt with before 0.6, because 0.6 is going to be bringing in some really huge changes, and any kind of serious bug or even mild bug is going to be detrimental to the development on that end, and it might cause it to take a bit longer because they're going to be changing quite a lot. Actually, we're probably going to be changing stuff just pretty much everywhere, since we're going to be taking out values and adding in difficulties and essentially adding in all the modding apparatus as well. So it's going to be a huge thing that we're going to be working on, and will probably be one of the few games that has had full mod support during an alpha release of the game, alpha build of the game. But that's a good thing, I think. If you get the modding in early, then it's a lot easier to deal with once the code gets insanely complex once we get into the 3D stage. But that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so yet, we'd appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. And